Hey folks, both of you. Welcome to Surprise Midnight Stream. It's just for fun. Okay? That's what we've got to remember, it's all just for fun. So, we're going to play some more Final Fantasy and just hang out if anybody wants to chat. Haven't settled on a permanent streaming schedule. Probably not midnight. I mean, after I get past about like 11 o'clock my time, then it's more like, you know, then you're broadcasting to Asia and Europe, not really the U.S., except for maybe people that are like me and they just stay up really late all the time. This is usually when I do all my work, so a good way to wind down. I did this on my PlayStation a lot with the Final Fantasy VII stuff, and it's just a fun little thing. I just want to get into a habit. So what I figured we'd go ahead and do is just jump in, play this game a little bit, and my goals with the surprise, yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Vagrant Theta. My goals for playing Final Fantasy, I'm going to do some content that's just like an evaluation of the game and the history of it, but I thought it'd be good to play basically the entire mainline series because you get a good snapshot of where development of different kinds actually was at various points in time. Like, for instance, if you look at... I might just dim this guy a bit here. If you look at... say Final Fantasy, this first Final Fantasy game that we're looking at, what you get the sense of is that it's really all about certain kinds of gameplay, like very specific kinds of gameplay. And after that, it starts to transition. After Final Fantasy IV, it starts to be more about the story, and the gameplay is a way of kind of interacting with the story with Final Fantasy IV. And then by the time you get to something like Final Fantasy 13, you see that games, by the time you get to Final Fantasy 13, are pushing towards spectacle. Final Fantasy 12 had a lot of spectacle in it. Final Fantasy 13 was really graphically great for the time. And rather than having the game be kind of about exploration and some of the things that this game is about, it's really about shuffling you through a series of set pieces. Just connecting a bunch of set pieces together and gameplay that is engaging and animations that are fun to look at. It's kind of an interesting thing where I think, you know, at a certain point it became really about trying to be as photorealistic and like beautiful as possible. And well, I think that's fine. It's just different. It's just different than this. So I've played a little bit here and there. What I do like about the emulator stuff is I can just save that to like a save slot and close it down and come back later to do something else. So this is like, you know, I'm just checking stuff out over here. I did a little grinding because there's different points in this game where the scaling is not very good. So when you start the game off, everything's pretty easy. You can just kind of face roll through the first dungeon and the first couple things that you have to do. And then when you get to Elfland, all of a sudden everything gets much more difficult to kill. But not just that, the equipment and the spells get a lot more difficult to buy. So like one of my characters has a silver sword. That's 4,000 gold. So you get this point where the monsters need you to buy better equipment to defeat them, but they're not dropping... The gold hasn't scaled up with the equipment cost. And there's two ways that you level up your characters. This is basically... people mention, it takes cues from Dungeons & Dragons, and it does. But maybe not completely in the ways that people think. So, Dungeons & Dragons First Edition was really all about gameplay. This idea of like D&D being about story is pretty much a new thing. That's like a third edition thing. You know, so like that monster really didn't drop a lot. I think there are some like better monsters up here. Here. You're... Poor Larry, getting beat up down there. D&D 1.0 was really about... In fact, I can, save this state here. D&D 1.0 was really about just getting gold and experience. In fact, you only got experience for getting gold. So you leveled up your characters 2 ways, and you do this the same thing in Final Fantasy. You kill monsters, which gives you experience, which makes your characters more powerful as they level up. Or you get gold, which you then use to buy equipment, which makes you more powerful. So those are the 2 ways that you level up. A bunch of these things. I think I have... I think you have to get Ice and Lightning 2. Once I get those, you can hit like the entire field. So anyway, so that's basically what they started with. The entirety of the micro is deciding which enemies you're going to attack in what order and with what characters. And then the macro is just get experience and gold to make your guys more powerful so you can kill monsters better to get more experience and gold. And then I guess the meta would be like, what classes are you going to use? And then after that, it's really just comes down to the story, which kind of pieces the thing together. The story gives you the impetus to move forward. So it's very much like first edition D&D in that sense. Even though the battle system is nothing like D&D, it's actually kind of similar to D&D, but it's not that similar to D&D. Let's actually back up here. You should fight this guy. You should fight this guy. You should fight that guy. You should fight that guy. There's very little tactical arrangement. It's just like the characters at the top get hit more. That's pretty much it. And there's a lot of auto-attacking, as you can tell. I thought there were more monsters up in this peninsula, but I think I'm just misremembering. Let's see what we can find here. Creeps. They're okay. What's going on? Speaking of fantasy, will you read and review Razorfist's Fantasy Pulp? I'm not going to say yay or nay on that. Yeah, I'm not going to say yay or nay on that. I have a lot on my plate without reading additional books. I'm trying to remember what his was called. I recognize the cover designer because I have friends that have used that cover designer. He keeps using the same font on every cover, but that's okay. I use kind of the same font on every cover too. So it's all good. You fight the blue guy, okay? Let's do magic. Poor Larry. Larry's getting his butt kicked. Vagrant, BA, Jared, I hope you guys are doing well. David, you too. I'm doing pretty good. So my usual routine is I work out, have a little meal, do some work. It's kind of late today, so I'm not doing a ton of extra work. I mean, a lot of the work I've been doing is kind of prep for this series that I want to do, like basically over the entire year, including like getting what versions of the games lined up that I'm going to play. So I think what I'm going to do for Final Fantasy II is play the PlayStation 1 version, which actually came out way after the PlayStation 2. It came out like 2002 or 2003. But it came out as a PS1 game that, because PS2s had full backwards compatibility, it was just really good optionality. 4 mad ponies. Look at these mad ponies. They are angry. So I'll probably do that one. It has, updated graphics. The graphics are, superior to, say, Super Nintendo. They look really good. So that's what you get with that. I think the script from the Game Boy Advance version is slightly better, but obviously it's going to be a little bit more limited in graphical fidelity. For one thing, the Game Boy Advance has much lower resolution. So if I was playing like a Game Boy Advance emulator, it'd look more pixelated than this, even though it would look better in a lot of senses because it would have more colors. It would look worse because there's way fewer pixels on screen. So it just has a much blockier look, even though it looks really good on the Game Boy Advance. If you're playing it on a handheld, it looks really good because that, you know, the screen's little. And you know, you might be watching this on a phone and it looks really good. Yeah, I thought there were more powerful monsters here, but I think I'm just misremembering. Let's get out of here. So I think I'm going to do that one. And so, you know, acquiring that PS1 game after the fact is kind of a little bit harder. You know, like imps, these are like level 1 characters. I'm dead. There we go. You know, it's a little harder after the fact, even though I'll probably play it on an emulator. It's good to have the disc. I thought about bringing in the PS3 and then doing that. I'm like, nah, it'd be easier to like rip the ROM image and then just play it on an emulator and stream it. It'd look better too. So getting that stuff lined up, and then, you know, you get into, I want to try out emulators on like every single platform. So I ended up like jailbreaking my Vita and putting a bunch of stuff on it. Turns out, so I found out this. Turns out the PlayStation Vita can output video to a TV or to a monitor even. So video output was actually built into the PlayStation Vita, but they never took full advantage of it. Like, you could have basically had the Nintendo Switch, but like with DualShock 3 controllers. Nope, I didn't mean to do that. All right, he's gonna cast harm. It's not gonna do anything because he's not undead. Dumb. Oh well, lost the magic charge. That's how it goes sometimes. So anyway, yeah, I've been doing stuff like that. The Vita's a really cool system. Like, we could have had the Nintendo Switch, but with DualShock controllers, you know, basically 10 years ago. That's crazy to think about. And actually, we kind of did have the Nintendo Switch in the 90s with the Nomad. The Sega Nomad. Which everybody, I knew that we all wanted a Sega Nomad because we're like, we could play our Genesis games on the go instead of Game Gear games. Because it turns out Game Gear games are actually just, they're Sega Master System games. So the Game Gear is a portable Sega Master System. Like, Sega's crazy. Sega did crazy hardware stuff. They just did wild stuff. The Game Gear is a portable Sega Master System. And there's actually like a huge amount of cross-compatibility there. And then what am I thinking of? And then the Nomad is just a portable Genesis. The Sega Saturn had a cartridge slot in it, but the cartridges, it didn't play Genesis cartridges for some reason. Wild to think about. They did crazy stuff. Let's see what's over here. Oh yeah, this town. Let's go over here, see what they have for sale. This was the pirate town. There was that Mickey Mouse game. Sega Game Gear was amazing. Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was absolutely amazing for the time. But, and actually, I mean, the Master System was better than an NES. It had more, it could display more colors. It was just better. Pretty much every way. Let's see what they've got here. We need, like, to buy some heals and some pures. But first I want to see if I can buy magic here. If there's like some magic I missed. Not really. I mean, you could buy iron armor. Let's get out of here. Luckily the armor's not too expensive. I have Cool Spot. Yeah, I have Cool Spot on the SNES. The Mickey Mouse game I remember from the Genesis, this came out pretty early in the Genesis life cycle, was Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. And this game was... No, Bert doesn't need to learn this. I'm trying to remember what these do. There's a couple of them that don't work at all. I'm actually gonna look it up because it would really suck to like buy something and that it's not gonna work. So magic bugs. So temper doesn't work at all, saber doesn't work at all, Xfer doesn't work at all, lock always misses. Lock 2, instead of decreasing enemy evade, it increases its evade, and Hell 2. Alright. And there's a bunch that don't work in Final Fantasy 2, at least the original version. That's interesting. So I have to remember what these do. And actually, I think I could look up the... I think I could look up the manual. I think the manual tells you. So here's the manual. If you guys remember this, I showed this in the last stream. So the manual basically comes with like a walkthrough of pretty much all the stuff, like what these do. A cabin, it saves your game and recovers more hit points than the 10. And the house saves your game and it recovers your magic. It's really because you only have so many magic charges. It kind of sucks. To do stuff using potions, it tells you all this stuff that you need to do. Tells you where to go next. Go to the North Bridge, and then you go Cave of Matoya, which tells you that you got to get an herb or something. The town of Provoca tells you where everything is, which is kind of cool. It usually should tell you some spells and what they do around here somewhere. I mean, you have to look a little further in. We'll use the tools of the day, because they gave you all these tools because this stuff is not obvious. Like, if you look at this, lamp, mute, alit, invis. Invis makes you invisible, but there's no telling like what that actually means. Because they only had 4 characters to write it in because of the localization. Yeah, and here it is. Here it is. Lamp removes enemies' dark spells. Mute mutes magic users. Reduces lightning damage. 20% in ability to avoid attack. Let's see here. These are level 2 spells. Harm 2. Harm 2 is really pretty good. Heal, I already have that one. Pure is way too expensive because you can just use the potions. Let's see here. Dark. The enemies are blinded by darkness. Ice. Temper. Which one of these doesn't work? Temper doesn't work. Slow. Fire 2 is really what we want to get here. Fire 2 is, and Lightning 2. These are the ones that we want. And we don't want Lock. That's not going to work at all. Yeah, so these ones don't, some of these don't work. So it's cool. They put this stuff in the manual so that you can actually have it. Let's check the chat real quick. Yeah, I think I need to go get I think the level 2 spells, I just don't really need very many. Mute. I don't know, you can buy one, but I mean, the 2,000 gold, I'd rather save up and get the, get Fire 2. I think it's 1,500, so I think I'm going to save my gold. I can come back here. Ice. 1 enemy. Dark. All enemies. I might get dark. Dark might be good to get, so we'll get dark. Odin by dark. Alright. And it's cheaper to stay in the inns in the earlier towns, so that's generally a good idea. If you're traveling around on your boat, just stay at the first inn because it's only like 30 gold. I think Brian Niemeyer told me that. I'm like, that's a good idea. PSP version's better for Final Fantasy II. The problem is getting the PSP version. So if I get the PSP version, how do I stream it? With an emulator? Okay. Do I download the PSP version and do it that way? I guess I could do that. The PSP version is based on the Game Boy Advance version, but it's kind of like a hybrid between them. I don't know. It's. I think you could probably make a point to it. I think the iOS version is based on the PSP version, if I remember correctly. The iOS and Android version, but I don't want to do iOS and Android. They're just not that stable. Blank of Illusion Gaze, Castle of Illusion. There's World of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. Yeah, this was like being your own dungeon master. Basically, it brought this stuff in, and it's like this was like your DM guide to get you through this game, and the game was kind of leading you through like a D&D adventure, and you were doing all the guys at once. That's really what it was like, and it's very much like early D&D in that it's really all about the gameplay. The gameplay, it's really all about like kill the monsters, get the gold, buy the spells, upgrade your stuff. And then you're like, oh yeah, I guess we'll go get an herb for this guy because he wants an herb. But really, that stuff's just kind of pulling you through the various set pieces. It's all that's really about. Final Fantasy IV on the DS was good. I love that version. That's probably... I'm debating what version of Final Fantasy IV to play. So Final Fantasy III, I think I'm going to play the DS version, just because I think it would be a good switch up, and I think it's a really good, unique version. Final Fantasy IV, I don't know. Final Fantasy IV, you can make... you can make a lot of points that Final Fantasy IV should be played. Like, because if you play the original SNES version for the USA, it's not the best translation. They changed a bunch of things because of censorship. It is also easy mode. So basically it's an easier version of the game than what you end up getting. Oh, we have a guy here. It's easier than the Japanese version. In fact, it came out in Japan as Final Fantasy IV Easy or something, easy mode. So you're not getting the real gameplay. So what do you do there? Okay, well, you could play a later version of it, but maybe they haven't fixed the script. You play a version with the version for DS really is the best version if you want the story. And it actually maintains most of the gameplay from the Japanese version really well. But it's missing the aesthetics of the original version. Like, they're just completely replaced with kind of blocky 3D graphics. I have the PC version of it. I have it on DS as well, but I bought it on PC a while back. So I might do it on that because that's a really convenient one to do. There's also a version of it on the PlayStation 1 that came out in the early 2000s. Same thing like the Final Fantasy Chronicles or whatever it is that has Final Fantasy 1 and 2. And then there's another later version, I think, again for PSP. All the best versions, I think, are on PSP. I haven't played any Final Fantasies before 6. My favorite before 6... 2 I haven't really played much, so I'm really looking forward to 2. 2 has a wildly different leveling system that a lot of people hate. But probably 4 and 3 are both really good. And this one is good in its own way if what you're wanting to do is just play the game, I guess. If you're wanting to just play the game, this is the one to do it, you know. Poor Larry, man, he's always getting picked on. Oh, I'm getting some weird slowdown here. I don't know if you heard that. There was like a little error there. Oh, I think I don't think Chronicles came with Chrono Trigger. I thought Chrono Trigger was a separate thing. You know what? Maybe one disc was one disc is Chrono Trigger and one disc is Final Fantasy. Yeah, I think one disc is Final Fantasy. When Final Fantasy Chronicles is is Final Fantasy IV and Chrono Trigger. And Final Fantasy Origins is 1 and 2. Yeah, that's right. So Final Fantasy Origins is 1 and 2. And Final Fantasy Chronicles is 4 and Chrono Trigger. And it's interesting, the history of Chrono Trigger. You know, it was like people were working on Final Fantasy VII, but they got pulled off to make Chrono Trigger. It's kind of interesting. Chrono Trigger's a great game, too. He's going to spend all his cures on himself. Golden Sun is one of my favorite JRPGs, actually. So Golden Sun's good. Breath of Fire 2, Bravely Default, those are good. Those are really good. Yeah, I like all of those quite a lot. Bravely Default's really beautiful. It's one of these things where, like, I think they're gonna, if they haven't yet, I think they're gonna re-release Bravely Default, like, on PC. And that's probably an acceptable way to play it, but man, it looks great on the 3DS, you know. If you've never played a Final Fantasy game, I think 10 is a good starting point. I think 10 works pretty good. I think a lot of people have their starting point as 7. And I think 7 actually might be a really good starting point because it... no, I don't know. I don't think 7's aged very well, frankly. I think it's a good game, but I think it's just not aged well. Fire 2. There we go. Now I think we can do some damage here. Fight these asps. Bob has a silver sword and it just like instantly kills everything. It's really strong. He missed. Everybody's missing. Miss, miss, miss. There's a lot of misses in this game. 10's pretty easy to get into. You know what? There's no wrong place to start. It just depends what you want. If what you want is this kind of classic grindy gameplay, then by all means, this is where you should start. I'm actually going to... Yes, an ogre. These guys drop a ton of gold. I'm actually going to go back and stay at an inn to like recharge all my magic and stuff. And like get kind of fresh for this attack on this. I have to go find a castle up in the northwest, I think. That's what everybody told me to do. Yeah, there's really no wrong place to start. You should just start with the one that most appeals to you. I think for beginners, I mean, people who've never ever played a JRPG before in their life, I don't really know where to start. But like if you want the most classic JRPG gameplay and you just want to like kill monsters and get loot, you know, you could get like the mobile version of Final Fantasy 1. It's pretty fun, you know. This is it. Like this is the game. It's pretty basic. And it gets you, like, other than Final Fantasy 2, this was the basis for the entire gameplay system up until, I think, Final Fantasy 12. Was when they, or well, I mean, Final Fantasy 11, which was a MMO. They didn't really diverge from this gameplay until years later. Final Fantasy 2 had a different level up thing where like you leveled up all of your skills, kind of like Oblivion, and it's kind of weird. So like people that are gaming the system, they'll put 2 shields on all of their characters and then slap each other when they encounter a monster, and then that raises your HP. You get more HP by getting hit. So it's you know, it's a thing that you can game the system for sure. I'd say Final Fantasy X is a good entry point because it has really good narrative. The narrative's good. It's got really good presentation. The voice acting's not the best, but it's certainly acceptable. Final Fantasy XII, of the ones that are after I'd say that are 10 and later, I think 12 is probably my favorite. Final Fantasy 12 is really good. But it doesn't have the gameplay that people expect from a JRPG. If you hate JRPG gameplay, Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 13 are both probably pretty good places. Final Fantasy 13 is very much about like the spectacle and like cutscenes. It's got like 12 hours of cutscenes. It's very much like peak that generation of consoles. You know, the PS3. It's like peak PS3. And that could be a good thing or bad thing depending on what you want. If you really just want to like relax on the couch and like watch, look at cool looking stuff, and I don't know. I think it's a very relaxing game. I don't think it's a very tense game. So then I think that's probably a good choice. It's Final Fantasy 13. Almost nobody says like 8 or 9, and I think 9 is one of my favorites. I think 9's a really great game. And I'm wondering why I'm not sitting here thinking 9. It's like, is 9 hard to get into? Not really. It's pretty straightforward and has a great story full of great characters that are really lovable. 9's a good place to start too. Yeah, it's Squaresoft. Square really didn't... Square became known for like high fidelity games, I think starting with Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X was so high fidelity at the time it was released. Like, it was such a step up from the PlayStation 1. Like, when we saw Final Fantasy X on the PlayStation 2, which I think it launched with the PlayStation 2, I think it has some of the success for the PlayStation 2 is probably built on Final Fantasy X. It's like, man, you want great looking games? Check this one out. And it was like fully voice acted. We'd never seen like full voice acting like that before. It was just wild. Just like an amazing thing. Kind of like Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII was this game that came out for PlayStation that like normies actually bought and played and enjoyed because the presentation was so good. And like the graphics were so good compared to the, it's like it felt so real. And now you go back and look at it, and it hasn't aged well. The characters really don't look good, especially compared to like Final Fantasy VIII. You know, but that being said, the gameplay's still good. You know, but at the time it was like, wow, this is huge. I think 9 is the best of the PS1 era. I agree. Aged the best too. And I'm gonna play with on PC with the Mogiri mod, which uses an AI upscaling of all the backgrounds. So like the backgrounds just are so sharp when you use this mod. The aesthetics just look so great even today. It really holds up, especially when you upscale things. Final Fantasy VII, in order for it to look good, you'd really have to basically just replace all the characters. You'd have to remake it. Because those characters just don't look very good. Like, if we're being really honest, they just don't look very good. Eight's a mixed bag. I feel like the junction system is pretty cool, but the draw system could have been better. Wonder how a remake of that system would turn out. Yeah, I don't know. I think graphically, though, it was made in a style that was very easy for them to update and make a revision of. So I'll probably play the Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, just because it's a little sharper than the PlayStation 1 version of the game. So I think that one was probably best placed to like have the graphics be updated. If that makes any sense. Final Fantasy X was great when it released. It's still good. I played it a couple years ago, like before my son was born, and it's a great game still. Going to go find a castle up here. No, it's going to be around the lake. Here's another thing about these graphics is that although they're simple, they were very much like inspirational. Is the way I'll put it. All right, let's do that fire 2. Ineffective. Is he gonna cast it? Here it goes. It's gonna kill all of them. Mario RPG for the SNES. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. That was a fun one too. Should the Star Wars sequels have been made in the 90s when the cast weren't geriatric and JJ and Ryan were still in high school? I thought that was the plan. But then George wanted to make the prequels first. He should have just made the sequels directly after the prequels. But he's also been interviewed and saying, like, there's no story after Return of the Jedi. It's like, it's just nothing there. It's the end of my story. Remember the Chocobo balloon race, and Kimari and Lightning Dodger. Here's the castle. Here we go. Oh, there's bats flying around. Uh-oh. Can you just, like, walk... You can, like, walk out the walls here. It's like a ruined castle. Now, can I fight this bat? Kiki! Kiki! Nothing here. I don't remember which one started having lots of secrets. I thought maybe this castle had secrets, but I'm probably mistaken. I don't remember which one started having, like, the walls you walk through. And then you can find treasure chests. Yeah, when the cast wasn't geriatric. Well, actually, before let's there'll be some treasure chests over yonder. Let's go get them. Can I go out over this way? Nope. Final Fantasy VIII needs junction rework. So yeah, I think for this series I'll play Final Fantasy VIII, the remaster of it. So that I think will be good. Definitely we're doing the like PC version of this door. Every door is locked by the Mystic Key. I want this Mystic Key so I can get my loot. Dang it. Alright, we'll go talk to this guy. Kiki, Kiki, nothing here. Kiki. Astos double-crossed us. Go south to the Cave of Marsh to retrieve the crown, then bring it directly back to me. See, this is the semblance of story you get. It's not much. You're like, why am I doing this for this guy? Alright, let's go directly south. Actually, I should check. Let me check my monster. Let me check my manual here. See, look, this even goes to where you get the airship. Enter the Earth Cave. Here we go. The Marsh Cave. Find Astos. Look, they tell you where it is. Talk to the Lone King. And then they tell you to go down over in this corner. And then descend into the hole. In this cave, you will find legions of enemies whose sole purpose is to dispose of amateur light warriors. Bring many potions to restore your HP and to aid you if you get poisoned. I don't think I have a lot of potions. I think I forgot to buy potions. Maybe we'll go back and buy potions. Maybe we can do it without potions. I'm not sure. we go. I'm going to use up all my Fire 2 spells. 2021 is going to be a good year. I think it's going to be fine. You know, it's all about maximizing what you have available to you in your life. You know, 2020 was a great year too. You know, I saw lots of people complaining, and it's like, man, I kind of wish... You know, I spent a lot of time with my kids, so my life wasn't that different. But, you know, if I was like back in Vegas, it would have been like, oh, I can't work. But I could have, I don't know what I would have done. I probably just would have like hung out and played video games. Like moved in with a friend and like gone back to farming, moved back to California and gotten back into farming. Let's save that state just in case here. This is the Marsh Cave down here. And just like hung out and ooh, great imp. Werewolf. It's a trendy thing to say that 2020 sucked. For some people it did. But I don't know, man. If I hadn't actually like gotten out of Vegas when I did, it would have been a great opportunity to do that. I probably would have really... drink. Actually, we'll probably fight. Pure. I only have 5 heals. I probably need like 20. We'll go buy some. Green wolf poisons. Yeah, a lot of stuff poisons, so we should probably go back and get some heals and some poison cures. And actually, I should wait until after the battle to use that, because otherwise he's just going to poison me again. Think about rewatching The Seven Samurai. Yeah. Yeah, Akira Kurosawa films are good to watch. What's another one I watched? What am I thinking of? It's one with like its parents and they're visiting their kids in Tokyo. There's a hole there. That must be the cave. Oh, okay. Geists. Oh, Larry's stunned? Well, that sucks. Fight. These guys probably died pretty easy. Yeah, these guys die easy. Lost some family members to cancer. I'm sorry to hear that. Oh. Nope, no one's poisoned. I think I probably do need to buy more heals. I think you can just run from all the fights in here, though. So, maybe that's what we try. Oh, listen to that music. Kiki. Let's try running, see what happens. Alright, that works. It was in this room. Run. 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 Let's see what happens. And scums! They hit a little hard. Bob is poisoned. Who's poisoned? Bob is. Every time they get poisoned, they also like switch orders here. Oh, that's interesting. Kind of like the music here. Ooh. Spiders aren't bad. We can kill them pretty easy. Let's fight that guy. Fight the arachnids. Fight that guy. And I think, oops. Magic. Let's go to Fire 2. Magic. Oh, we want to save this. Save that too. Let's fight that guy. There we go. Alright. Favorite enemy, Scum. Does your human white male mage have harm? Yes. Fire helps. Let's see where we're at here. Almost out of time. I don't want to stream for another 10 minutes. So we'll see how far we can get here. And maybe we have to like... Alright, 680 gold. That's nice. Let us... Crawl. We'll fight the crawl. And then he can do harm. Yeah, harm should do a bunch of damage to these skeletons. Yeah, it's gonna wipe him out. Easy mode. You know, a lot of the restorative items here are just like ridiculously expensive. Like if you want to get the house, which like refills your magic. Let's run from the gargoyles. It's like thousands of. It's like 4,000 gold or something to use it once. It's like you're not pulling in that amount of gold like early in the game at all. And even later in the game, 4,000 gold is a lot. Short sword. I think I already have one. Equip. I have a large knife and a short sword. I'm not sure which one's better. Let's see here. Status. Odin, what's your strength? See, even the like 16, 14, 14, 11, those are like D&D numbers. Damage 15. That's what happens if I give him the short sword. Damage 23. Okay, short sword's better than the large knife. We learned that. Base mostly like no whiffing during battle if two characters target the same enemy in the first attacks and kills it. Yeah. So the later versions of this game are definitely like good in the way that they change the gameplay so it's like it's more convenient. So you're not having to think all the time about like, oh, am I gonna be able to reasonably kill this character? That one's empty. so that you're not whiffing air if you happen to attack the wrong target. So that's nice, I guess, but I don't know, that was part of the gameplay of the original game, is that you had to think about that stuff. So I don't really think it's necessarily a good change. It's just, it's a change. You know, it could be a good change or a bad change. Just, there's no... You know, I think it's not necessarily a good... It just changes it so it's easier, I think. I always prefer smaller numbers in RPGs. I'm not sure why. Well, they're easier to comprehend, and as each number goes up, it makes a bigger difference. We leveled up to level 9. Odin leveled up. Good job, guys. You're stronger. Oh, there's a bat blocking me. Alright, I have to come back here. Let the bat move. That's silly. Get out of the way, bat. Check this room. Uh-oh. Muck. I think these guys are resistant to weapons. I'm just going to run from a lot of the fights because I don't think they're worth doing. Would you say that Christians that believe in Calvinism, predestination, believe that the world is similar to a film, or those that are not see the world as more of an open world video game? I don't know. So one thing about Calvinism is that it's not up to you, right? Like if predestination exists, you are not privy to it. So yeah, if you're predestined, like it doesn't give you the ability to just like avoid. Can he equip this? Nope, he can't. All right. Yeah, it doesn't mean that like, oh, cool, I'm elect, I get to go to heaven. It's really just that unconditional election is the idea that God will decide if you are going to do things for him, and there's no way to resist, like Jonah and the whale. That ultimately you can't resist God's will at all. It's simply not a possibility. It doesn't mean you're privy to knowing who's elect and who's not, and so on and so forth. You know, in fact, you don't know. And I just talked about this with the luck thing, right? Like, even if you believe in a completely deterministic world, you lack the information to know what future events are going to be. So even if God is the divine puppet master, you can't comprehend why he's doing what he's doing, and you're not going to be able to predict that and make a valid prediction. Found some gold. And this is the idea of their dungeon, right? This is kind of like a D&D dungeon. It's not like a labyrinth. It's just like, here's the next level. There's some rooms. You can go look in the rooms. Let's see if these guys are actually like resistant to weapons. There's only 2 of them. Two damage. All right. Let's try again. Islam's very fatalistic. I mean, Christianity can be too. I could be mistaken, but doesn't predestination imply that God creates some folks knowing already that they're damned? Doesn't sound right to me, but then again, I'm not a Calvinist. Well, there's different kinds of Calvinism. It's not like a monolithic thing. Calvin didn't shy away from, well, simply you don't understand all of God's plan, and if he has predetermined who is going to be elected and who's not, that we're not we don't have enough information to know why he's doing that, or even who is necessarily going to be that way. The idea of unconditional election is that, like, basically God may decide that you are going to follow him and you don't have a say in it. That's unconditional election. So the main thing is you're not privy to the information, so that doesn't mean that you get to decide or make a judgment on that. And also it's a thing like you can't judge God's plan because you don't know it or understand it. So Calvin didn't go away from that. Then there's Calvinism that views unconditional election as not universal. So you don't have universal unconditional election. Rather, you have some people are elected unconditionally, other people not so much. Other people maybe have a choice. So there's different beliefs like within that larger sphere there, I guess. I think these guys are equally equipped, so we'll have it like that. Yeah, that's true. Still have three casts of harm here. Get rid of some of those skeletons there. So he hits for 150 with that silver sword. That's a lot. Here we go. So here's the thing about, like, free will, right? It's like I could say I believe in free will, and I do believe in free will. But even if the universe is entirely deterministic, you still act as though you have free will because you don't know the contents. Like you can't predict the events. And that's the big point. Oh yeah, we can kill this one guy. Let's kill him. Wow, one shot. Good job, guys. I think this is the door that I have to go in now. Is this the one? It's locked. Run from the gargoyles. That one's also locked. Kiki. So I'm guessing this one will be locked as well, but we'll try it anyway. Odin is stunned. Have you seen the anime Inuyashiki? Old guy becomes a superhero and a kid gains the same power and goes on a rampage. It's only 10 episodes and probably the best superhero series ever, and I haven't seen it. Who locked all these doors? It's a good question. I don't know. Whoever has the mystic key decided the doors should be locked. The way is shut. Got a lot of gold. They're finally getting like enough gold here to like buy good stuff. But we're nowhere near town. Get out of my way, bat. It's okay, this one's locked. They're all locked. Save state 2. Oops. Well, that didn't work. What do you think of the free won't? The idea that people can override their natural impulses. People can override their natural impulses, of course. Otherwise, you'd be like peeing on everything and like trying to have sex with everything in sight. Wizards! I don't remember if these guys are hard to kill or not. Let's run from the wizards. Apparently we can't run from them. Alright. I don't have any more of these. Alright, here we go. Heal. I think these are like a little boss here. Alright, we killed that wizard. These guys are not bad to kill. Cure. Yay! Killed the wizards. You found the crown! Alright. They resist fire and ice. Well, there you go. Found that out, but they're not resistant to weapons, so I just smashed their freaking faces. Alright. I have a tent and a cabin. Let's use some of these healing potions, though. Poor Bob. He's been pretty wrecked here. Some Odin's magic here. Alright. Let's do... Get everyone over 100 HP here. Alright, now we have to find our way back out of this mess. Alright, we are out of... Let's run. Actually, I think I can just, like... I think we can just kill these skeletons. Oh, we have one cast of harm left. Let's use it. See, and this is an interesting macro thing with strategies. Like, you have to think, I can only cast this spell so many times. You know, that's a cool thing of the strategies. And that's something from Dungeons and Dragons. It's like original D&D, you could only cast a spell once per day because it took you time to, you know, to like set up the spell. So this is kind of like what that's like. You have so many charges of a spell rather than MP. Later you get MP and you can think about like what's the efficient use of mana, blah blah blah. But this one it's really all about the There's another thing you can do is just kind of switch guys around if you're like really running out of stuff. Where are those stairs? Up here? I think they're in one of these. Were the stairs in one of the rooms? Let's run. Run! No! There we go. There's the stairs. No! Yeah, we can actually kill these guys, I think. Let's kill this guy first. Oh, I'm out of harm. I have L3 heal, though. Let's heal our dudes up. Some HP going here. I think that guy stuns. Televangelists, yeah. Those are real spells that cast by people who do TED Talks. Yeah, most magic things people engage in are ritual. I mean, there's rituals. Rituals serve multiple purposes. Televangelists are interesting because a lot of them have this what people call now prosperity theology, which is this idea that, like, if you donate money, like if you tithe, God will look favorably upon you and give you prosperity. Like if you give money to charity, or usually it's going to be giving money to the church, or in a lot of cases the televangelist, then God will in turn give you money. Now that's not correct. Most denominations view that as not correct. I think that's it. I think I already got all the chests here. You should do things like you should tithe because you have a true sense of charity. If you're doing something in order to get something, that is not charity. That's a transaction. So you aren't engaging in anything virtuous if you're giving money with the expectation that somehow God will in turn bless you. And it's not a transactional thing. You should do things which are good because they are good to do, not because you will receive some sort of special earthly reward for it. I don't remember if the shadows are like, I think these are the guys that like are resistant to weapons. I don't remember. There's some monster in here that I remember like you just like can't seem to kill him, There we go. Oh, that's a dead end. Odin still has some cures. I think he can cure Bert. And Larry still has a heal. Alright, that tops a bunch of people off. Item. Heal. Alright. Yeah, we're like running out of stuff to do this dungeon. There we go. I think this is the exit. Let's just get out of here. See if we can make our way back to the town. Oh. Pure use poison. Alright. These guys are easy. We'll fight them and get some loot. And then we'll call the show after this. Is putting Black Lives Matter and she her in your Twitter profile a form of tithing? It's blocking your message for some reason. Yeah, I make a joke about it where it's like occasionally I put out on Twitter, I'm like, Republican bad, Democrat good. You know, I'll just put out a bunch of stuff like that and be like, can I stay on Twitter now, please? It all feels like such a joke to me at this point. I'm running because it's just going to take too long to kill them. Try to get back to town. Then we'll go back to the castle and turn in the crown. Alright, ogres. I like ogres. Well, I mean, the reality, too, if you're talking about serving God for seeking blessings, is that, I mean, all of the early church saints, not all of them, but a huge number of them were martyrs. Like, they were killed for serving God. So, like, that doesn't, you know, that the example there is that they're doing it because it's so the truth they're going to do it no matter how bad it is. 100 gold. It's worth it. All right. Look at that. 9,000 gold. Hold reset while you turn power off. All right. I think I'm going to call it there. Right? So, you know, there's plenty of examples where you do the right thing and you don't get any kind of earthly reward for it. You get you get killed. So, but, you know, there wasn't the whole thing about salvation by grace or, you know, Jesus' sacrifice on the cross is that's non-transactional. That means that he did it before you did anything for him and without an expectation that you do something back for him besides, you know, declaring your faith and following him. Which the price may be high for that, but it's not like a transactional thing. Like, well, you give $100 to the church, and then I will give you $100 back through blessings. Doesn't necessarily work that way. That's not what charity is. Charity is because you feel that giving that alms will actually do something meaningful. So, anyway, guys, I think this is it because it's now after 1. We got through. We got the crown. So next time we'll do. Take the crown to the guy, take the herb back to the elf, and then I think we get to do the next part. I think he gives you the mystic key, and then you can go and unlock all the doors. Rule of acquisition number 285: no good deed ever goes unpunished. I love the Ferengi. They're like one of my favorite guys here. So, all right, guys, I absolutely do appreciate everybody hanging out for a while. I need to go to bed and take care of a couple things and then go to bed. Stay tuned. I'm probably gonna do a bunch of these at night. I haven't come up with exactly what days I want to do, but I kind of want to come up with a firm schedule, like maybe Tuesday, Thursday, and then like Sunday. So then Saturday you could do it during the day and just get a different crowd in, or maybe Friday because I could probably stay up late on Friday really easily. But it's late now and I need to go to bed. So I'll probably, I don't know when the next stream is. I'll make a post on YouTube when I decide. It's tonight's it's Wednesday, early Wednesday morning technically. So I don't know. I'll make some decisions there. I need to make firm decisions. So probably I want to try like 11 o'clock at night instead of midnight. It's past 4 a.m. here. Being an East Coast viewer of yours is suffering. Sorry, that's how it is. I apologize, but if I can't do it earlier because I got kids hanging off my ears, so that's how it is. Anyway, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you guys next time. The Christmas collections are still going to be available through January because shipping, I guess, has been pretty bad, in general. So Christmas and Krampus Christmas. This has new stuff in it, by the way. It's not just old books. It has a new sci-fi horror novella, or not sci-fi horror. Well, it does have a sci-fi horror novel in it, but it has a little fantasy horror novel in it too. Brand new one and some other new stuff that I think you guys will like. So take it easy, and I'll see you next time.